The repair girl's gambit. Jasmine Rodriguez had always believed that machines spoke a language of their own, not the binary code that every tech school dropout could read, but something deeper, a symphony of whirs, clicks, and electromagnetic pulses that sang stories of their inner workings. Right now, her ship's engine was screaming. "Come on, baby," she whispered, her hands deep in the guts of the propulsion system. The warning lights bathed her dark skin in an ominous red glow, reflecting off the grease smudges on her face. "Just hold together until we reach Celestia Station." The engine responded with a sound that definitely wasn't in any maintenance manual. Jasmine's ship, the rusty wrench, shuddered like it was going through a mechanical seizure. Through the viewport, she could see the gleaming spires of Celestia Station growing larger, a magnificent structure that looked like someone had turned a chandelier into a space station. "Emergency docking protocol initiated," the ship's AI announced in what Jasmine swore was a slightly smug tone. She'd programmed it to have personality, but sometimes she wondered if she'd done too good a job. "Thanks for stating the obvious, Penny," Jasmine muttered, using her nickname for the portable emergency navigation network interface. The ship lurched again, and she grabbed onto a handrail to keep from floating in the zero-G environment. The docking procedure was less of a landing and more of a controlled crash. Jasmine winced at every clang and scrape, mentally calculating the repair costs. When everything finally stopped moving, she let out a long breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "Welcome to Celestia Station," Penny chimed, "where the elite meet to eat and greet and occasionally cheat." "Did you just make that up?" "I've been working on my poetry subroutines." Jasmine chuckled despite herself and gathered her tools. She'd need to sweet-talk her way into getting repair parts on a station notorious for its exorbitant prices. But first, she had to deal with station security. She wasn't prepared for what waited at the airlock. The security chief stood nearly 7 feet tall, their body composed of shifting crystalline formations that caught the light and broke it into prismatic patterns. Where a human would have skin, they had faceted surfaces that seemed to flow like liquid glass. Their uniform appeared to be part of their body geometric patterns forming insignias and markings of rank. "Identification," they said, their voice resonating like wind through crystal caves. Jasmine tried not to stare. She'd heard of crystalline beings before but had never met one. "Jasmine Rodriguez," she said, fishing out her mechanic's license. "Independent contractor, my ship had a slight disagreement with physics." The crystalline being's surface rippled in what might have been amusement. "I am Nexus, Chief of Station Security. Your slight disagreement registered as a Level 2 anomaly on our sensors." "Only Level 2? I'm almost disappointed." Jasmine grinned, then quickly sobered when Nexus didn't visibly react. "Look, I just need a few days to repair my ship. I can pay the docking fees." Nexus studied her for a moment, their crystalline form shifting colors slightly from cool blue to a warmer amber. "Your ship's energy signature is unusual, modified." "Custom work, all legal," Jasmine added quickly. "I just like to experiment with efficiency improvements." "Experiment," Nexus repeated, and there was something in their tone that made Jasmine look up sharply. Was that interest? "I could show you sometime," she found herself saying. "The modifications, I mean, if you're curious about unconventional engineering approaches." Nexus's form shimmered in a way that reminded Jasmine of sunlight on water. "Perhaps. For now you are cleared for docking Bay 17, but Ms. Rodriguez." "Oh yes. Our sensors indicate your ship's core is carrying an unusual quantum signature. I will be monitoring your repairs closely." As Jasmine watched Nexus glide away, their crystalline form casting rainbow patterns on the station's polished walls, she couldn't decide if that was a threat or a promise. Either way, she had a feeling her stay on Celestia Station was going to be more interesting than she'd planned. She didn't know it yet, but that moment, standing in a sterile airlock with grease on her face and a sparked interest in her heart, would change not just her life, but the very nature of what was possible between organic and crystalline beings. "Well," Penny's voice came through her personal communicator, "they seemed nice. For a walking diamond factory." "Shut up, Penny," Jasmine said fondly, but her eyes were still fixed on the spot where Nexus had disappeared. She had repairs to make, but suddenly she wasn't in quite such a hurry to leave. Frequencies of the heart. 3 days into her repairs, Jasmine found herself hanging upside down in a maintenance shaft, surrounded by a spectacular array of floating holographic diagrams. She discovered that working in zero-G sections of the station gave her the best access to her ship's more stubborn components. "Your approach is unorthodox," a familiar crystalline voice resonated through the shaft. Jasmine twisted around to see Nexus floating at the entrance, their form casting prismatic light patterns across the cramped space. Most effective solutions are, she replied, trying to ignore how the rainbow reflections made her heart skip. The station systems registered unusual energy patterns in this section. Nexus moved closer, their crystalline body adapting fluidly to the confined space. I came to investigate personally. Of course you did, Jasmine pushed a floating diagram aside. Want to see something cool? Without waiting for an answer, she pulled up a holographic representation of her ship's quantum core. The projection filled the shaft with swirling patterns of light that interacted with Nexus's crystalline form in unexpected ways, creating a dance of color and shadow. This is remarkable, Nexus said, their voice carrying an undertone she hadn't heard before. Their surface rippled with patterns that seemed to match the hologram's flow. You've modified the standard quantum matrix to resonate at harmonic frequencies. Jasmine blinked in surprise. You understand quantum engineering. My people evolved in crystalline formations that naturally channeled quantum energies. Nexus's form shifted, creating complex geometric patterns. We don't just understand quantum mechanics, we live it. That's fascinating. Jasmine found herself drifting closer both literally and figuratively. Would you mind if I asked you some questions about your people's technology? You are different from most humans I've encountered, Nexus observed. They usually avoid discussing our biological peculiarities. Well, I've never been good at following social norms, Jasmine grinned. Besides, you're basically a walking quantum computer, how could I not be interested? The colors within Nexus's form shifted to warmer hues. Perhaps we could continue this discussion somewhere more suitable than a maintenance shaft. Are you asking me on a date, Chief of Security? The crystalline patterns in Nexus's form scattered momentarily, like light through suddenly disturbed water. I am suggesting an exchange of knowledge. Right, knowledge exchange, over dinner maybe. Jasmine surprised herself with her boldness. We do not eat in the way humans do, Nexus replied, but their form was still radiating those warmer colors. However, I know an observation deck that offers an exceptional view of the nearby nebula. The quantum energies there create interesting phenomena. It's a date then, I mean a knowledge exchange. Jasmine felt her cheeks warm. Let me just finish up here. As if on cue, a spark shot from the panel she'd been working on, and a small alarm began to chime. Jasmine quickly turned back to her work, her hands moving automatically to contain the surge. Here, Nexus said, moving closer, allow me to assist. Their crystalline appendage touched the panel, and Jasmine watched in amazement as the errant energy patterns simply reorganized themselves. The alarm fell silent. That's incredible, she breathed. How did you? We can discuss it during our knowledge exchange. Was that amusement in Nexus's tone? Later, as Jasmine prepared for their meeting, she found herself spending an unusual amount of time deciding what to wear. Penny wasn't helping. Maybe the blue jumpsuit, the AI suggested. It matches their current favorite resonance frequency. How do you even know their favorite? Never mind. Jasmine opted for her least stained work clothes and a leather jacket she'd picked up on Mars. It's not really a date anyway. Of course not, Penny agreed cheerfully. Just two beings, one organic and one crystalline, meeting alone to stare at beautiful cosmic phenomena and discuss quantum harmonics. Totally platonic. I'm mooting you now. The observation deck turned out to be more beautiful than Jasmine had imagined. The nebula filled the massive viewport with swirling clouds of purple and gold, its quantum energies creating visible ripples in space-time. What she hadn't expected was how those energies would affect Nexus. Their crystalline form seemed to come alive with internal light, refracting and reflecting the nebula's glow in ways that made them look like a living aurora. Your molecular structure, Nexus said, noticing her stare. It resonates at an unusual frequency. Is that your way of saying I have a nice aura? It is my way of saying you intrigue me. Nexus moved closer, their light patterns shifting. Few humans show genuine interest in understanding rather than exploiting. Well, Jasmine said softly, watching the nebula's light play through Nexus's form. Few security chiefs are walking works of art. The colors within Nexus flared briefly, creating a pattern she'd never seen before. We should discuss the modifications to your quantum core, they said, but made no move to distance themselves. We should, Jasmine agreed, not looking at her ship's diagrams at all. Above them, the nebula continued its cosmic dance, its quantum energies weaving patterns that mirrored the growing connection between organic and crystalline hearts. Neither of them noticed when the station's systems logged an unprecedented harmonic resonance in that section, a frequency that had never been recorded between their two species before. Hash resonance. The first sign that something was wrong came as a subtle vibration through Celestia Station's walls. Most residents didn't notice it, but Jasmine felt it in her bones, the same way she could feel when an engine wasn't running quite right. "Penny," she whispered, setting down her repair tools. "Are you picking up any unusual frequencies?" "Multiple harmonic disruptions detected throughout the station's grid," the AI responded. "Also, your crystalline friend is approaching at approximately twice their usual velocity." Before Jasmine could respond, Nexus glided into the repair bay, their form rippling with urgent patterns. "The station's quantum grid is destabilizing," they said without preamble. "We've lost synchronization in 3 sectors." "That's impossible," Jasmine said, already pulling up diagnostic holograms. "The quantum grid is self-stabilizing." "Evidently not." Nexus's form pulsed with colors that Jasmine had learned to recognize as concern. "The disruption began shortly after our knowledge exchange." Jasmine's hands stilled over her holographic controls. "You think our interaction caused this?" "The timing suggests a correlation." Nexus moved closer, their crystalline surface reflecting the emergency lights that had begun to flash. "The resonance we experienced, it may have triggered something unexpected in the station's systems." The vibrations were getting stronger. Above them, the lights flickered as power fluctuations rippled through the grid. Jasmine could feel the station's rhythm changing, like a heart developing an arrhythmia. "I need to get to the central core," she said, gathering her tools. "If the quantum grid fails completely, the station will tear itself apart," Nexus finished. "I'm coming with you." They moved through Celestia's corridors together, Nexus's crystalline form lighting their way as more systems failed. The station's usually pristine passages were now filled with floating debris as artificial gravity fluctuated. "You know," Jasmine said as they navigated around a cluster of drifting luxury furniture, "this isn't exactly how I imagined our second date going." "This is not a date," Nexus replied, but their form flickered with what might have been amusement. "This is a potential catastrophe." "Can it be both?" They reached the central core access shaft, a massive cylinder running through the heart of the station. Usually humming with controlled quantum energy, it now pulsed erratically, sending waves of distortion through the surrounding space. "The resonance patterns," Nexus said, their voice taking on a strange tone. "They're similar to what we created together," Jasmine finished softly. She pulled up a diagnostic panel, her fingers dancing over the controls. "Look at this, the grid isn't failing, it's evolving, forming new patterns." Nexus moved closer to examine the readings, their crystalline body almost touching her shoulder. "These energy signatures, they're like nothing in our database." "Because they're not just crystalline or human," Jasmine realized. "They're both. When we connected, we must have created some kind of template for a new form of quantum resonance." The station shuddered violently, throwing them together. Jasmine found herself caught in Nexus's crystalline embrace, their form automatically adjusting to cushion her. "We need to stabilize it," Nexus said, still holding her. "But attempting to force it back to its original state could be catastrophic." Jasmine looked up at them, suddenly aware of how their energies were interacting, creating tiny sparks of light where they touched. "Then we don't force it, we guide it together." Understanding flowed between them like electricity. Nexus's form began to glow brighter, their crystalline structure resonating with the station's quantum field. Jasmine placed her hands on the control panel, letting her innate sense of machinery guide her movements. "Penny," she called out, "I need you to modulate the core frequency to match our combined resonance pattern." Attempting to synchronize with an impossible relationship. "How poetic," the AI replied but complied. The effect was immediate. As their energies merged, human intuition, crystalline harmony, and artificial intelligence, the station's erratic pulses began to smooth out. New patterns emerged, beautiful and strange, like music translated into quantum mathematics. "It's working," Jasmine breathed, watching as the diagnostic readings shifted from red to green. "We're not just fixing it, we're making it better." Nexus's form had taken on colors she'd never seen before, their usual geometric patterns flowing into organic curves. "This connection," they said, their voice resonating with new harmonics, "it should not be possible." "Maybe that's why it works," Jasmine replied, turning to face them fully. The quantum energies swirled around them like a cocoon of light. "Sometimes the best things are impossible." The station gave one final shudder, then settled into a new rhythm, stronger, more complex but perfectly stable. In the aftermath, Jasmine and Nexus remained close, their energies still intertwined. "The station's systems are registering a 40% increase in efficiency," Penny announced. Also, several residents are reporting feelings of unexplained euphoria and a sudden appreciation for cross-species romance novels. We should probably study these effects more thoroughly, Nexus said, their form still rippling with those new, impossible colors. Definitely, Jasmine agreed, for security purposes, of course. Of course. Above them, Celestia Station hummed with its new harmony, a quantum symphony of human and crystalline energies combined. Neither of them noticed when Penny quietly began composing what she called the first human crystalline love song, using the station's resonance patterns as notes. Some things, after all, were beyond scientific explanation. Quantum entanglement. Unauthorized quantum signature detected in Sector 7, the station's automated alert system announced, its usual monotone touched with static. Jasmine looked up from her work, meeting Nexus's crystalline gaze across the security office. In the week since their quantum resonance event, they'd been working together to understand the changes in the station and in themselves. That's the third alert this cycle, Jasmine said, brushing a holographic diagnostic aside. Someone's trying to replicate what we did. Nexus's form shifted with concern, prismatic patterns flowing like troubled waters. They cannot succeed. What happened between us was spontaneous, natural, completely impossible, Jasmine smiled. Take your pick. All of the above. Nexus moved closer, their crystalline surface catching the light in ways that still made Jasmine's breath catch. But these attempts are dangerous. Forced quantum resonance between incompatible systems could. The station shuddered, cutting them off. This wasn't like the previous harmonic disruption, this was sharp, violent wrong. Penny, Jasmine called out, what are we looking at? Multiple unauthorized quantum fusion attempts detected, the AI reported. Someone's trying to force organic and crystalline matter to merge. It's not going well. Holographic displays erupted around them, showing critical failures spreading through Sector 7. But what caught Jasmine's attention was the way Nexus suddenly stiffened, their form becoming almost rigid. What is it? She asked, reaching for them instinctively. I know this signature, Nexus said, their voice carrying harmonics of distress. It belongs to Prism, a crystalline exile. They were banned from our homeworld for conducting forbidden fusion experiments. Let me guess, trying to combine organic and crystalline life. Yes, but their methods were crude, forced. They believed power could replace natural resonance. Another tremor rocked the station. Warning lights painted the walls in crimson as system after system began to fail. We have to stop them, Jasmine said, already gathering her tools, before they tear the station apart trying to recreate what we have. Nexus's form rippled with emotion. What we have, it cannot be replicated through force. Their eyes met, or rather, Jasmine's eyes met the shifting patterns that served as Nexus's visual centers. In that moment, something passed between them, a resonance deeper than quantum physics could explain. No, she said softly, it can't. They moved through the station together, following the trail of quantum disruption. The closer they got to Sector 7, the more obvious the damage became. The station's usually pristine walls showed signs of failed fusion attempts, patches where organic and crystalline matter had been forcibly merged, only to tear itself apart. There, Nexus said suddenly, pointing to a sealed laboratory door. Inside, they could see flashes of intense light and feel waves of discordant energy. Ready? Jasmine asked, her hand hovering over the door controls. Nexus's form pulsed with determination. Together. The door slid open to reveal chaos. In the center of the lab stood another crystalline being, but unlike Nexus's harmonious form, this one was jagged, fractured. Around them, organic matter, plants, synthetic tissue, even pieces of the station itself, swirled in a vortex of failed fusion attempts. Prism, Nexus called out, their voice carrying authority despite the chaos. Stop this. The other crystalline being turned, their fractured surface reflecting light in painful ways. Nexus, have you come to witness breakthrough? I'm so close to understanding your secret. There is no secret, Jasmine stepped forward. You can't force this kind of connection. Prism's form shattered and reformed in what might have been laughter. A human, this is your solution, Nexus, how far you've fallen. Not fallen, Nexus replied, moving to stand beside Jasmine. Evolved. As if to demonstrate, their energies began to harmonize naturally, creating patterns of light that made Prism's crude attempts look like static in comparison. The failed fusion vortex wavered as the organic matter responded to their resonance. Impossible, Prism whispered, their form crackling with disbelief. That's kind of our specialty, Jasmine said, reaching for Nexus's hand. Where their energies met, light danced like quantum stars. What happened next would be debated by station scientists for years to come. Some said it was simple physics, the natural harmony of true quantum resonance overwhelming forced fusion. Others claimed it was something more, something that transcended scientific explanation. All anyone knew for certain was that when Jasmine and Nexus joined their energies fully, the resulting wave of quantum harmony didn't just stop Prism's experiments, it healed them. The fractured crystalline being found their forms smoothing, jagged edges softening as natural resonance patterns reasserted themselves. In the aftermath, as station security led a much-changed Prism away, Jasmine and Nexus stood in the quiet lab, their energies still gently intertwined. "You know," Jasmine said, examining a piece of successfully fused organic crystalline matter, "they weren't entirely wrong about wanting to understand this." "No," Nexus agreed, their form shimmering with new patterns. "But understanding comes from connection, not control." "Speaking of connection," Jasmine grinned, "Penny's been working on planning our next date, something about quantum-harmonized music and impossible physics." Nexus's form rippled with what she now recognized as joy. "Impossible seems to be our natural state. Wouldn't have it any other ways. Harmonic convergence." The observation deck of Celestia Station had become their special place. It was here, 2 months after the Prism incident, that Jasmine and Nexus found themselves watching a quantum aurora, a phenomenon that had become increasingly common since their resonance had changed the station's energy patterns. "The Council of Crystalline Harmony has requested my return," Nexus said quietly, their form reflecting the aurora's shifting colors. Jasmine's hands stilled on her latest project, a quantum harmonizer she'd been developing. "Because of us. Because of what we represent." Nexus turned to her, their surface rippling with complex emotions. "Our connection has proven that true harmony between organic and crystalline life is possible. They wish to study it." "Study it," Jasmine repeated, a smile tugging at her lips. "You make us sound like a science experiment." "We are more of a miracle," Nexus replied, their tone carrying harmonics of affection. "One that could change everything for both our peoples." Above them, the aurora painted space in impossible colors, the same colors that now regularly appeared in Nexus's crystalline form when they were together. Penny had started calling them love frequencies, much to Jasmine's embarrassment. "So," Jasmine said, trying to keep her voice light, "when do you leave?" "That depends." Nexus's form shifted closer, their energy field gently brushing against hers in what had become their version of a caress. "On whether you would consider coming with me." Jasmine blinked. "To your homeworld, can humans even survive there?" "The Council has prepared specialized habitats," and Nexus hesitated, their patterns swirling with nervous energy. "I have been developing something with Penny's help." On cue, Penny's voice emerged from Jasmine's communicator. "Project Harmony is ready for demonstration, assuming you two stop dancing around the subject and get to the point." "Project Harmony," Jasmine raised an eyebrow. In response, Nexus's form began to change. Parts of their crystalline structure shifted, creating spaces and patterns that seemed almost organic. At the same time, a soft glow emerged from Jasmine's quantum harmonizer, reaching out to intertwine with Nexus's energy field. "We discovered that with the right quantum frequencies," Nexus explained, "we can create a permanent resonance field, one that would allow us to share environments, share life." "You're saying we could actually?" Jasmine reached out, touching Nexus's newly formed structure. Where their energies met, neither organic nor crystalline, but something gloriously in between sparkled into existence. "Be together," Nexus finished, "truly together." "The quantum physics are quite elegant," Penny chimed in, "though I prefer to think of it as science finally catching up to love." The aurora above them pulsed, as if in agreement. Jasmine looked at her hand, still touching Nexus, watching the impossible harmony they created together. "You know," she said, "when I first landed here with a broken engine, I thought it was the worst luck ever. And now I think maybe my ship knew exactly what it was doing," she grinned, "breaking down right where I needed to be." "Your ship is very wise," Nexus said, their form glowing with those special colors that belonged only to them. "Oh please," Penny interjected, "who do you think suggested that particular flight path?" They both paused. "Penny," Jasmine said slowly, "did you deliberately damage the engine to bring us here?" "I neither confirm nor deny any subtle manipulations of the quantum core that might have resulted in our emergency landing at a station staffed by an unusually compatible crystalline being." "You're impossible," Jasmine laughed. "I learned from the best," the AI replied smugly. Nexus's form rippled with amusement. "It seems our love story had more architects than we knew." Love story, Jasmine repeated softly, is that what this is? In every possible universe, Nexus replied, their form shifting to embrace her more fully. In every quantum reality. The aurora above them burst into new patterns as if celebrating. Throughout Celestia Station, systems hummed with harmonious energy, organic, crystalline, and artificial, all singing together in perfect resonance. So, Jasmine said, her heart full of impossible possibilities, when do we leave for your homeworld? I can't wait to show them how a human mechanic and a crystalline security chief rewrote the laws of physics with something as simple as falling in love. Simple, Nexus's form sparkled with joy. Nothing about us has ever been simple. No, Jasmine agreed, watching as their combined energies painted new constellations in the space between them. But impossible looks good on us. And in the quantum field that surrounded them, in the harmony they had created together, in the very fabric of spacetime itself, something new continued to grow. A love that defied explanation, transcended form, and proved that sometimes the most beautiful things in the universe are the ones that shouldn't be possible at all. End log, Penny announced cheerfully, though personally I think this is just the beginning. For once, neither Jasmine nor Nexus argued with the AI. After all, she had been right about everything else.